Okay, now we're going to get into chapter 14, and this is where you write actually how to write a headline. And I think this is, out of the three chapters, is probably the most important chapter in that it gives us tips and tricks for writing different headlines. Um, it goes through like 20 something different tips and tricks, and I'm just going to hit a few highlights of them. Number one, wrap it in a smile. In other words, a light human touch on a product. I like the example in the book that they had a door sign on a coffee shop that states no pet allowed in store unless you bring a walrus, and then who are we to say no? Makes the customers smile, not just no pets allowed, which is kind of strong and abrupt in the approach of someone coming into their business. So headline wants to reward the reader, which is create a bridge between the brand and the people you're trying to talk to. With this, it gets into some parallelism. Sentence elements are identical in thought and grammatical form. Repetition of the structure, and balance is important when you're talking about parallelism. Going in one way and then coming out the other, which means like a mirror image of the headline. Cleverness. For an example, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, from JFK, famous quote, which is always creating a real distinction, a benefit, or a promise. Then it gets into another tip of kickers, the basic in a headline that states commonly acceptable problem frequently with a cliche, has to deal with the humor of the kicker of it. In the last word or two, change the expected ending of the headline. You can also use opposition, which is like the good compared to the bad, or the tough compared to the tender. Words that show opposition. You also can get words to collide, allow words to play off of each other, such as head on, or at the angle, tail light. Then another tip would be don't discuss the product, but discuss what happens after the consumer uses it, or what precedes or necessity. Meaning that write sort of as people talk, as they're fragmented, they're urgent. Imitate the speech rather than the writing. Another good tip is state true facts. If you have an interesting fact about your client's product, you should use it. Replace general statements with specifics. And in this chapter, it talks a lot about pun, a figure of speech in which a word means more than one thing. People hear and respond to the double meaning of a pun. And you don't want to make readers groan, you want to make them smile. As a writer, you are trying to generate energy through your ad, through your headline. One word is surprise with a double meaning, possibly. Repeat word, but change the meaning. Substitute a word that sounds like the expected word. Let the picture be half the pun. Saying two or more things in one spot. Then, in the end of the chapter, it gets into cliches. Cliches are overused ideas and expressions, and sometimes they work, um, but often they're, what I got out of the chapter is that they should be avoided, but they can be used in advertising by drawing people in with their familiarity, but surprising them with your witty alterations of the expected language. So you take a cliche and you change it by extending the line or replacing something in there. You can. It talks about tweaking a cliche. And let's see. So then we're going to get into slogans and theme lines, which are other taglines you might have heard it be called, or theme lines. It's basically, according to the book, the phrase that pays. Slogans stand by themselves as a selling argument. They're portable pieces of persuasion, little chunks of language people carry around in their heads and remember. They're clever. They're punny, need to be smart. They're sort of like a miniature ad. I've got a couple tips by Bruce Carlson. He gives 3 tips for writing better headlines. He states in the article, your headline is your magnet for your copy. Make it appealing enough they want to walk through the door, which is your headline, and learn more interesting facts, which is your copy. His 3 tips are: 1, clear understanding of what your headline is doing. It's sort of like your first step in your journey. 2, get attention and target a strong emotion. Go after your prospect's self-interest. Offer your prospect news. Try to arouse your prospect's curiosity. And 3, for his 3rd tip, combine some of these techniques together. Once have a good headline, the copy will follow smoothly. I also found some other good information by Brian Clark in how to write headlines that work. Headlines can do more than simply grab your attention. A great headline can also communicate a full message to its intended audience, in which to lure the reader into the body text. So it's, in other words, like the tip that Bruce Carlson said. You want them to sort of walk through the headline or the door to come in and get the rest of your information, your copy. And Bob Bly has like 8 different copywriters in his copywriter's handbook. Some great tips about different types of headlines: direct headings, which go straight to the heart of the matter. Indirect headline takes more of a subtle approach. A news headline, as long as it's news. The how-to headline is everywhere. And you can really not go wrong with to begin a headline with how-to. A question headline, not just a question, but one the reader can would like to see answered. A command headline boldly tells the prospect what he needs to do. Reason why headline is where the product or feature list or tips. An example is like 200 reasons why, da 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 da. And a testimonial headline is the outside proof that the product is offering a great value.